I'm gonna help you clean a corner of your room today. There's a difference between openness and vulnerability. Chasing someone who's emotionally unavailable doesn't make you more emotionally available. It's actually the opposite. And you wanna be in relationships with people of all kind who take care of parts of you they can't touch. Your mind, your heart space. All of these things are important, and it's Mental Health Awareness Month still, right? One concept that I implement, and I forget where I heard this from, but it's this concept of cleaning one corner of your room. Now, it could be your physical space or it could be your internal space. When you clean one corner of the room, it's just you simply taking action towards something. It doesn't have to be everything. It could be just one small thing. You know, life is life. And a lot of times we could be very overwhelmed with everything that we have going on. And it can seem daunting, right? And everything just starts to pile up. And if you are paying attention, sometimes your external environment starts to reflect back your internal environment. So if you were to look around your place and you're typically a very neat person, if things start getting out of order, well, that's an indication that something is out of order here, right? You're not paying attention to what needs to be done or taken care of like you usually would. And for me, I recognize that. I use that as a barometer when my energy is low, or when I recognize that my patterns start to kind of fall by the wayside. Oh yeah, something's up. So I start to clean one corner of the room. And what that looks like is me just acknowledging, all right, something's up. What's going on? How do we take care of it? What needs to be done? And sometimes cleaning a corner of your room looks like just acceptance. Sometimes it looks like having a conversation and letting somebody else know, hey, I'm not doing all right. Sometimes it looks like, okay, I'm going to brush my teeth. I'm going to shower. I'm going to journal. I'm going to do the hard things. One hard thing today is me cleaning a corner of my room. And when you do that, it still allows you to have agency over your process versus letting everything consume you, right? And when we think about openness and vulnerability, that's another concept. Sometimes we think that somebody is vulnerable because they're willing to verbally just divulge everything. And that's not what true vulnerability is, right? Those people who are always talking about, yeah, I have no filter. I'm just being honest. I'm being open, right? That's not necessarily vulnerability. Okay, a person that's vulnerable is willing to put themselves in a position for them to get hurt. So when someone shares something with you and it does, in essence, kind of put them in a position where they are emotionally raw, or there's information there that could potentially harm them later, that's vulnerability, right? Openness is just kind of the ability to say things, right? So it's important to recognize which one you participate in too. And you'll probably understand it a little bit better when you are intellectualizing your feelings and your processes versus actually feeling them. Because sometimes we'll intellectualize things in order to protect other people. Like, yeah, I've been going through this, and we can itemize it and we say it so eloquently that it kind of allows this other person to feel like, oh yeah, this person has their stuff together. They know what's going on. But to feel those feelings, to feel those experiences, to actually process what's happening and what it's doing, that's a whole different ballgame. Yeah. And when it comes to people that are emotionally unavailable, I hear a lot of times in my work, but also in life, where people are like, yeah, I just want to meet somebody that's emotionally available, etc. And sometimes they fail to realize that they themselves are not even emotionally available. Because when we are that, we stop taking on projects and people. In other words, we stop desiring to fix a person or hoping that they eventually find themselves by us being there. And instead we recognize, hey, this relationship is kind of leaving me empty and voided. And I don't feel good. I don't feel safe. I don't feel like I'm really being taken into consideration in this process. And that hurts me, right? So I think I might step away, right? If we're constantly chasing someone who's emotionally unavailable, we don't have time to necessarily process our own feelings because we're so fixated on this other person and their feelings. And we say this, well, if they just do this, then things would be great. If they just get in touch with themselves, everything would be all right. Well, you have to understand not everybody wants to get better when you want them to get better. And not everybody wants to get better at all. And everybody else's better is kind of relative. So what you think is best for someone, they may have a different perspective altogether. Okay? But what does you getting better look like? All right? If you stop chasing someone, you'll probably have time to catch your breath. If you have time to catch your breath and your heart rate goes down, then maybe you'll have the ability to actually feel what you're feeling. Okay? Sometimes we chase people because we think if we're always in pursuit of them, then they're still in our sight and they can't potentially outrun us, which means that we won't fully be abandoned, right? But at the same time, while chasing somebody who's not standing still, it reinforces that we don't deserve to have people just show up without us running after them. So layers to it. So I want you to just remember a couple of those things. It seems like a lot, but they are necessary as you navigate life. And give yourself permission to feel and process and ask yourself questions. And a lot of times when you say, I don't know, you know. You know what decisions you need to make. You know what decisions need to happen. You know what actions need to take place. You know how you want to feel. Sometimes you're just afraid of making that decision because of what it may make you look like, or the fact that this person will no longer be in your life because of it. Or the relationship may change altogether. But it's still necessary to clean your room. Because when you have a clean space, it opens space for what you actually seek and what you actually need, and your ability to think a little bit clearer. So, yeah. I know that was longer than a minute, and I know I didn't ask you guys if you had a minute, but there's a couple of things I wanted to like really lean into. Because yes, these things do affect our mental health. And if you're paying attention, then yeah, you'll move with more intention. All right. So, yeah.